a really quick response to Joe's video, which has generated a lot of responses, which is good. And anyway, I feel I had a different take on this. I don't believe that Joe was advocating violence. I think what he was saying is, I'm disgraced by my country, and it's truly, he really feels this, and so do I. I've lived here for 30 years, and this is definitely not what I've signed up for. And what he consistently says throughout is he's basically advocating his own representatives to do something about the situation in a very democratic way, through impeachment proceedings, basically, and for somebody to do something. And when he's saying that, and so we need to march in the streets, and you know, if things turn violent, then they turn violent. You have to read between the lines here, because it's not advocating violence. It's the inevitability of something like that to happen once the democratic process stops. And I think Joe actually wants to prevent that, and this is why he's talking about impeachment, and he is fighting his senators, his representatives. I mean, we're doing all we can. So it's not taking to the streets and hurting people or anything like that. In fact, we try to prevent that. And just enough people have to come on board and try to do something and become engaged before such a thing happens. And I don't know, you know, none of us want violence, but this kind of thing becomes inevitable once people have no recourse, and once their concerns are not addressed. And I'm the last person who wants to engage in violence, and I probably never ever will, unless it's in self-defense. But I think, you know, maybe Joe was misunderstood in that video, and I kind of have to back him up on this, because he's not a violent person at all, and neither am I. Neither are any of us who are agreeing on the subject. So, but pressure needs to be turned up in a major way, and you know, if we can't do it through marches because we have free speech zones or whatever, well then we'll have to shut it down economically. You know, people need to start taking risks, and personal risks, and that doesn't mean getting beat up on the street necessarily, like in the 60s. In fact, it's way easier. All you have to do is stay away from work for a little while, you know, and make it known why you stay away. If you work in a small company, I can't come in because I just I'm too tired, I'm too sick, the system is broken, and listen, we feel like that, and you know, it just can't be done anymore, and so people are just not going to come to work for a few days, and maybe a week or so. I mean, that's how Europeans do it, you know. And if they march on the streets, that's fine. There's hardly ever any violence involved. No massive violence, shootings, killings, nothing like that, you know. I mean, you saw the WTO protests in Seattle, and the higher-ups became very concerned about this, although there was, you know, there were no shootings, no one got killed, but there was property damage and stuff like that, and that happened in the 60s too. And, you know, if we can keep it at that level, you know, I don't have a problem with it. But it can't become something like an internal civil war here, because it's absurd, you know. Everybody knows what's going on, and if our representatives are not representing us, then we need to let them know. And, you know, that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. And we want to get the message out there. So hopefully You know, everybody does the same, and the pressure needs to be turned up in a major way. Okay, good night.